It's the top 5 Jayden Daniels plays of the year. It's going to be fire right here, right now on Ref the District. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Ref the District here on the Believe Network. I'm the Stoner. I've got an awesome video here for you today. This is the top 5 Jayden Daniels plays of the year. Think about this for a second. Jayden Daniels had 1,281 snaps. He was Offensive Rookie of the Year, 49 out of 50 first place votes. Shout out Sam Monson of PFF one time, who voted for Brock Bowers for first place in the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Go figure. That's all right. 49 other people got it correct. He was Player of the Week, 12 times, 13 times, a record number of times this year. So out of those 1,281 snaps that he took, I had to break it down into 5 of the best plays of the year. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, or if you're listening on audio, make sure you leave a rating or a review. Appreciate everybody who is in here watching this. Make sure you check us out, Ref the District, every Wednesday live, 7:30 p.m. 213 consecutive weeks we've been doing this, more than 4 years. We appreciate all the support everyone gives us. Let's get into this. Top 5 plays of the year. Look, I had a hard time figuring out what are the 5 best plays from a fantastic, probably the best rookie season in the history of the NFL. They've been playing for more than 100 years, and Jayden Daniels just had the best rookie season ever. No doubt, no questions. You can't debate that. So how do you break it down into 5? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't break it down into the best 5. So what I've got is I've got 3 honorable mentions and 2 honorable mentions and 2 just mentions that I have to talk about because they were also amazing plays. So I'm cheating a little bit. I'm giving you more than the top 5. The top 5 are going to have videos. So if you just want to go straight to the videos, that's cool. Down in the description, you'll see the links, the hyperlinks that'll take you right to those top 5 discussions. But if you want to relive those moments, these great moments that Jayden Daniels had, stick right here and we'll go through them right now. The 2 mentions, just regular mentions that I'm not even going to put in the top 5 plays, which they could go in the top 5 plays, but I'm not putting them in, are 2 running plays. And the rest are all passing plays. But the 2 running plays, which running, that's what differentiates Jayden Daniels from all the great throwing quarterbacks, because he's a great throwing quarterback. But now you add in his ability, the running dimension, puts him on a whole nother level. This guy's already a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You can debate with a wall because that is true. He is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. The legs are what makes him special. So I'm just going to mention real quick the 2 running plays. The 3rd and 1 against Tampa in the wild card round, when they had to get a first down in order to run the clock all the way down, kick that field goal to win against Tampa to beat them 23-20. He stiff-armed a 300-pound defensive lineman to get around the edge and dive for a first down. That could have been a top 5 play. That one's not in my top 5. The other running plays, if you remember, against the Eagles in week 16, and it was 4th and 11. 4th and 11, and they were going for it. He ran for 25 yards right up the middle on a scramble, not a planned run, a scramble, juking half of the Eagles' number 1 defensive team. 3 Pro Bowlers, obviously the Super Bowl champions, and he did that with his legs, 25 yards on 4th and 11. Didn't even include that in my top 5 plays, but it certainly could have been included, and some people may have that. I'd be curious what you all have for your top 5, but here I'm going to get into the honorable mentions, and I got 2 of those. Yes, I'm cheating. Again, if you want to see just the top 5 with video, The description has those hyperlinks. You can jump right to it. But let's reminisce for all of us who remember this incredible season that Washington had. Honorable mention number one, or the first one I'm going to mention, which is actually number 2. It's a whole countdown thing that sometimes gets stuck in my brain. Preseason, game 1. His very first action as a Washington Commander in the preseason, game 1, drive 1, his second pass ever on 3rd down. And it wasn't necessarily the play itself, but it's what we learned after the game that made that play special. So the play was a really good play, and it was a 42-yard pass to Dyami Brown down the right sideline, which he dropped right in the bucket. Defender was all over Dyami. Didn't matter. He threw it so perfectly, Dyami didn't have a choice. And by the way, one of the top 5 plays is another play where Dyami didn't have a choice but to catch it. But in this play, again, his second pass ever as an NFL quarterback in the preseason, and it was a fine play, a 42-yard pass, and you went, that's pretty awesome. But what was special was after the game, come to find out, I think it might have been Zach Ertz who kind of ratted him out and said he audibled on the play. So the beat reporters were very curious, went to Dan Quinn in the press conference and said, did he have the authority or the permission to audible already in preseason game 1 where he's been practicing for like 3 weeks? And Dan Quinn said it like this. He made a Top Gun reference. He said, you remember in Top Gun where Tom Cruise requested permission to buzz the tower, and then the answer was negative, Ghost Rider, the pattern is full. I mean, no, you can't do it. But he did it anyway. And it was awesome. And it was amazing. And he got in a little bit of trouble. But it was so awesome. You can't really get in trouble. And this is the same situation. You found out he audibled when he really wasn't supposed to. Because he saw that he had an advantage with Dyami on the outside, one-on-one, and he knew he could drop it in the bucket. And so he did it. So it was better for him to ask for forgiveness or beg for forgiveness than ask for permission, just like in the Top Gun reference. So that made that play awesome. Didn't make the top 5. It's honorable mention number 2. Honorable mention number 1 was in week 5 against the Browns. Also, another play where it was a great play, but what you found out afterwards made it even better. And this was where Jayden threw a 41-yard pass to Dyami. This time it was a touchdown. He was wide open, one-on-one coverage. And again, great play. But what we found out afterwards was that the play before that, Jayden scrambled for 7 yards, was knocked out of bounds on Washington's sideline. And when he was knocked out of bounds over on his own sideline, he ran by Cliff Kingsbury and he said, run it again. Run that same play again. And so Cliff Kingsbury, with the trust of his rookie quarterback in week 5 of the NFL season, ran it again. And this time, instead of scrambling, he threw a dart to Dyami down the sideline for a 41-yard touchdown. Amazing, number 1, that he knew what he was looking at. He learned from his mistake on the previous play. He told his offensive coordinator to run it again. His offensive coordinator had the trust in him to run it again. And he was exactly right. It was a perfect pass. Dyami beat his guy like a rented mule right down the sideline, dropped it into him, touchdown. And the route was on against the Cleveland Browns. That didn't make the top 5, but it's my honorable mention into the top 5. Still haven't gotten to the top 5 yet, but trust me, you're going to want to check out the top 5. Now I've got 3 honorable mentions. There's just too many plays to choose from. Too many amazing plays from an amazing player and an amazing season for the Commanders. So let's go with honorable mention number 3. Week 12, Cowboys. 21 seconds left. You get the ball back at your own 14-yard line. Again, 21 seconds left. You're down 27-20. And he throws a dart to Terry McLaurin, which Terry McLaurin takes for 86 yards for a touchdown to go to 27-26. Two things that keep this from being in the top 5. Number one, Terry McLaurin did most of that, although it was a great throw to hit Terry in stride that allowed him to make the moves downfield and go 86 yards for a touchdown. But that was more Terry than it was Jayden, but it was still awesome by Jayden. But also number two, Austin Seibert, however you say his last name, missed the game-tying extra point. And they ended up losing the game because when they tried another onside kick, Cowboys ran it back for a touchdown. And so that was a very disappointing ending, playing against a bad Cowboys team. And not only were they a bad team, but they were playing a backup quarterback. And they ended up beating Washington when Washington was kind of rolling. And so that one doesn't make the top 5 for those couple of reasons. Still an awesome play. Honorable mention number 2. Go back to that Week 16 game against the Eagles in which Jayden Daniels had that 4th and 11, 25-yard run. He throws the game-winning touchdown with 6 seconds left. 9-yard touchdown to Jamison Crowder to beat the Eagles. He throws a dart well before Jamison Crowder even got into his break. He had all-pro linebacker Zach Bond, all-pro linebacker Zach Bond in a blender. Zach Bond didn't know what to do. He did the wrong thing, turned his hips. As soon as he turned his hips, Jayden said, got him, and threw an absolute dart to Jamison Crowder right across the middle for a 9-yard touchdown to beat the Eagles. An amazing throw and an amazing play. Didn't make the top 5. It certainly could have, but I'm telling you, the top 5 are going to be pretty darn awesome. Haven't got there yet. My last honorable mention before we get to the actual top 5. And again, this one can easily make the top 5 in a lot of people's lists, maybe your list. Week 17. Falcons, win and you're in game. Lose and you might not get into the playoffs. It's 3rd and goal, 2:42 left in overtime against the Falcons. And he throws that 2-yard touchdown to Zach Ertz. Gets Washington into the playoffs, their 11th win of the year. The first time they had been to 11 wins in almost 30 years. And it was a perfect pass. Zach Ertz is catching it or nobody's catching it. And also what was amazing on that drive, if you remember the overtime against the Falcons, was that Washington went 75 yards. They started at the 30. First play was a false start, back to the 25. So they went 75 yards. Jayden Daniels had 74 of the 75 yards in that drive. Didn't even allow Atlanta to get their hands on the ball because he took them right down, scored a touchdown. He had 42 yards rushing on that drive and 32 yards passing. 1-yard run by Brian Robinson. A 1-yard run by Brian Robinson was the only yardage that Washington had on that drive that did not belong to Jayden Daniels. Incredible, incredible drive, incredible throw on that play. Finishes just outside my top 5. If I was doing a top 10, it would have been number 6 because it was an amazing, amazing play, and the drive was incredible. Washington is into the playoffs. The whole area goes nuts. It was incredible theater for this Washington organization. So now it's time to get to the top 5. I don't know if any of those would have made your top 5. I'm betting that some of them may have gotten into your top 5. But look, if you are a bettor, then go to BetOnline because BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. BetOnline, the game starts here. Let's get to the top 5 Jayden Daniels plays of the year. Again, the links are down here if you want to skip around and look at them. I've got video here to check them out as well. So we're going to get to those right now. Number 5 is against the New Orleans Saints. It was in the first quarter, his scramble for a touchdown to Terry McLaurin. Here is that play. What was amazing about that was the scramble, as I go through here, the scramble to get away from all these guys. And then he almost falls down right here at the 25-yard line. Not only does he not fall down, but he gets up, he composes himself, and throws, again, an absolute dart to Terry McLaurin in the end zone. And if you see the other angles, I don't have the other angle, but if you see the other angles of Terry McLaurin, started all the way on the right-hand side and then worked his way all the way down to the left-hand side of the end zone to make that catch. And Terry McLaurin, who had an amazing year, a Terry McLaurin kind of year, with 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, whatever it was after the playoffs, 14, 15 touchdowns. He hadn't yet debuted his Scary Terry celebration yet. So this was the actual celebration that he had right there. But here's the play once again. Jayden scrambles around, almost falls at the 25, gets up and throws an absolute dart to Terry McLaurin for the touchdown. Amazing play. They ended up winning the game just barely. Regardless, they ended up winning the game 20-19 and moved from 8-5 to 9-5, right in the middle of where they really started rolling. That's the middle of their winning streak because, they ended up 12-5. So that's my number 5 play of the year. Now, my number 4 play of the year, we're going to show it right now. This is the 53-yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin. And not touchdown, 53-yard catch, because you see Terry McLaurin gets knocked down at the 2-yard line. That's another one of those. I don't know how many McLaurin had. I believe he had 3 plays where he was tackled inside the 5-yard line. And we're all wondering, is he ever going to get in the end zone? Well, he did. But just an amazing play again, how he scrambles out of trouble, throws off of 1 foot. He threw that ball 53 yards in the air. Look at where he is when he throws the ball at about the 25-yard line. And it drops into Terry right there at about the 14-yard line, 13-yard line. 53 yards in the air, rolling to his right off of 1 leg. Another amazing play by Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, of course, on the end of that one. Washington goes on to blow out Cleveland 34-13 in week 5. And that's right about where you started thinking, there's something special here about this Jayden Daniels kid. He's throwing on the run. He had another play to McLaurin, another deep shot to McLaurin in this game. So that's my number 4 play of the year. That was a special throw. And it's where you first started saying, wow, we might have something really special here in Washington. Number 3. Dyami Brown in the divisional playoff game against the Lions. Again, the amazing ability for Jayden Daniels to stand there, understand where his receiver is going to be and throw an absolute dime. If you look when he throws this at about the 46-yard line with pressure right in his face, about to get pummeled, and he throws, and as the camera moves down, let me get it set up here. He catches it right at about the 10, the 9-yard line. He didn't have a choice. This is what I referenced earlier. Dyami Brown, even though you can see right here that it's dropping right into the defender's covering his eyes. And yet the pass is so perfect. Dyami Brown did not have a choice but to catch that ball. And that's my number 3 play of the year in the divisional round, which of course they went on to win 45-31. That was 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first half when he threw that. Here it is again against a blitz. He just stands in there and just throws absolute dime to Dyami Brown, who had no choice but to catch it. That is my number 3 play of the year for Jayden Daniels. My number 2, any other year, this would have been my number 1 because there's so much to like about my number 2. I actually debated whether or not to put it number 1, and then I had to come to my senses and say, duh, this is definitely number 2 and not number 1. But it was week 3 against the Bengals. Monday Night Football in Cincinnati against Joe Burrow and a desperate 0-2 Bengals team, a Super Bowl favorite, a Super Bowl contender before the season started, were the Cincinnati Bengals. And Washington went into Cincinnati and ended up beating them. And this play sealed the game. Just an incredible play from Jayden Daniels. It was 3rd and 7. You can see it right there on the video. 3rd and 7 from about the 27.5-yard line. Washington was up 31-26. 4th quarter. 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go. And he throws an absolute dime to Terry McLaurin for a touchdown in the corner of the end zone. And this was a play where he learned from earlier in the game. He had almost this exact same play, and he scrambled. But this time he says, I'm going to stay in there. I'm going to take the hit, as you can see coming up, the blitz by 22 there. And he says, I know I'm going to get hit. And he still delivers. Look, he gets pummeled right there at his own 37-yard line and still throws an absolute strike into the end zone about 6 yards deep in the end zone, and a great catch by Terry. It was my favorite play of the year, and it was game 3 or week 3, game 3, and it's where I said, okay, all right, this dude's the real deal. There are very few quarterbacks that can do this. What an amazing throw, catch, sealed the victory over Cincinnati, in Cincinnati, Monday Night Football in front of the whole world to see. It was my favorite play of the year, but not the top 5, not the number 1 in the top 5 plays of the year for Jayden Daniels. That, of course, is the Hail Mary. Just an awesome moment for everybody who was a part of that. I mean, I can remember when it happened that I was already ticked off. I was already setting up for our instant reaction because the Bears had scored late in the game there, and I thought that they had lost the game. And so I was, man, I can't believe we let this one get away because we had held them in check the entire game, and they scored a couple late scores in the fourth quarter to take the lead with less than a minute. And then the Hail Mary, the miracle in Maryland, or the Maryland miracle, whatever you're calling it. Everybody remembers where they were and what they were doing, whether you were at the game or watching it on TV. It was a Thursday night game, national audience, and Jim Nantz was going crazy. Well, what an incredible moment it was for Washington, which propelled them into the season. It got them, I believe, to 6-2, because I believe they were 5-2 and Chicago was 4-2. I don't know if Chicago won another game, but it propelled Washington to the 12 wins and 2 playoff wins. It broke Chicago, absolutely broke them. We all remember the defensive back Stevenson, who was taunting with the crowd while the play is going on. Their head coach got fired. There were questions if Caleb was a bust as the number 1 overall pick. It was just a seminal moment within the entire NFL season. It was voted the number 1 moment / play of the year in the NFL this year, and the number 3 moment in all of sports for 2024 was that play. So an incredible moment when Washington was able to pull that off. It was 63 air yards that he threw that with a busted rib, by the way. Remember, he was still playing with a bad rib at that time from the Carolina game. So they ended up winning 18-15, moved to 6-2 or 5-2. I can't remember exactly which game that was. Week 8. So yeah, so they moved to 6-2. And I mean, we're going to remember that play for the rest of our lives. That was the play where you said to yourself, okay, it's different now. The previous regime is gone. It's a new day in Washington. We can have nice things now. And great things are going to happen to this organization. And we're all along for the ride. What a great moment in Washington's history. In their history, that's a top 5 moment of the year. Outside of the Super Bowls, that might be the number 1 biggest play that's ever happened to Washington. And so it was fun to go through those top 5 moments. Again, I cheated a little bit with my 2 mentions, my 2 honorable mentions, and my 3 honorable mentions. Here are my top 5 Jayden Daniels plays of the 2024 football season, NFL. Number 5, week 15 against the Saints, Jayden Daniels scrambles, almost falls down, regains his composure, and throws a touchdown strike, 17 yards to Terry McLaurin. Number 4 was in week 5 against the Browns when he scrambled to his right, threw on the run, 53 air yards to a perfect strike to Terry McLaurin. They ended up blowing out Cleveland in that game. Number 3, the division game against the Lions when he threw that absolute perfect 47-yard strike to Dyami Brown, where Dyami Brown's eyes were covered. He had no choice but to catch the ball. It was so perfectly thrown. Number 2 was Monday Night Football, week 3 against the Bengals when he threw the game-sealing touchdown to Terry McLaurin. It was a 28-yarder in the right corner of the end zone, showed the world that Washington has arrived. And my number 1 play, of course, was the Hail Mary, week 8 against the Chicago Bears. Washington wins that game, 18-15. They go on to great things for the season while the Bears ended up getting broken. So those are my top 5, plus my honorable mentions, plus my honorable mentions, plus my mentions. If you agree, let me know. If you don't agree, fine, that's great. What should replace these top 5 if you have a different play? And maybe the ones I didn't even get to, because there were plenty of great plays, even the play he got hurt on against Carolina was a great run before he got tackled a little awkwardly, ended up hurting his ribs and really holding him back for a few weeks until he got fully healthy. But again, those are all my top plays. Appreciate everyone who's checking this out. Make sure you leave a comment, leave a rating and review if you're listening on audio. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Share this video with all your Commanders friends to let them know about us here at Ref the District. And to remind you, we are live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 214 consecutive weeks where we are live. We have a live show. We are a proud member of the Believe Network, and we are sponsored by BetOnline. And until next time, be a fan.